This is no one from nowhere, and you are, and I am a spirit of God. Today I want to talk to you about Antu equals Anunnaki Igigi, race of giants. First, a joke. How did the Anunnaki gods light a candle? With a match made from heaven. Next, Genesis 6:4. At that time the Nephilim appeared on earth, as well as later, after the sons of heaven had intercourse with the daughters of men, who bore them sons. They were the heroes of old, the men of renown. Are the Anunnaki the race of giants, or even better, the creators of the race of giants, who built the megalithic structures on our planet Earth? Did they build the megalithic structures with Anunnaki, semi-divine, superhuman, demigod strength? Are the Anunnaki Igigi the heroes of old? And are the ancient myths based on the Anunnaki Elohim? How does Anu and Antu relate to the Anunnaki? And what part does the Epic of Gilgamesh play? And did you know that Gilgamesh was a demigod described as 2/3 divine and 1/3 human? And what happened to the giants? Next, I take you to Job 9:8-9. Anu, he alone stretches out the heavens and treads upon the crests of the sea. Anu, he made the Bear and Orion, the Pleiades, and the constellations of the south. How does Anu and Antu relate to the Anunnaki and Gilgamesh? An means Sumerian sky or heaven, and is the divine personification of the sky, supreme god and ancestor of all deities in ancient Mesopotamian religion. Anu was believed to be the supreme source of all authority for the other gods and for all mortal rulers. And he is described in one text as the one who contains the entire universe. Along with his sons, Enlil and Enki constitutes the highest divine triad, personifying the three bands of constellations of the vault of the sky. By the time of the earliest written records, Anu was rarely worshipped, and the veneration was instead devoted to his son Enlil. But throughout Mesopotamian history, the highest deity in the pantheon was always said to possess the Anatu, meaning heavenly power. His primary cult center was the Eanna temple in the city of Uruk, but by the Akkadian period, his authority in Uruk had largely been ceded to the goddess Inanna Ishtar, the queen of heaven. Anu's primary role in myths is the ancestor to all the Anunnaki. Anu's consort in the earliest Sumerian texts is the goddess Antu, Urus, and she is later known as Ki, and in Akkadian texts the goddess Antu, whose name is a feminine form of Anu. And Anu briefly appears in the Akkadian Epic of Gilgamesh. Genesis 10:10. The chief cities of the kingdom were Babylon, Uruk, and Akkad, all of them in the land of Shinar. And once again, we have been Hebrewfied. A purposely misspelled word, Uruk, is actually equal to Uruk, and Shinar means the Anunnaki from southern Mesopotamia. Next, I am going to read you part of the beginning of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Surpassing all kings for his stature renowned, heroic offspring of Uruk, a charging wild bull, he leads the way in the vanguard. He marches at the rear, defender of his comrades. Mighty flood wall, protector of his troops. Furious flood, wave marching walls of stone. Wild calf of Lugambanda, Gilgamesh is perfect in strength. Suckling of the sublime wild cow, the woman Ninsun. Towering Gilgamesh is uncannily perfect, opening passes in the mountains, digging wells at the highland's verge, traversing the ocean, the vast sea, in the sun's rising, exploring the furthest reaches of the earth, seeking everywhere for eternal life, reaching in his might Utnapishtim, the distant one, restorer of holy places that the deluge had destroyed, founder of rights for the teeming peoples. Who could be his like for kingly virtue? And who, like Gilgamesh, can proclaim, I am king? Gilgamesh was singled out from the day of his birth. 2/3 of him was divine, 1/3 of him was human. The lady of birth drew his body's image, the god of wisdom brought his stature to perfection. Slight note, 1 cubit is 1.5 feet, or your elbow to the index finger. Statuely in feature, his body lofty. His foot was triple cubic, or 4.5 feet. His leg 6 times 12. His stride was 6 times 12 cubics. His thumb was blank cubics. His cheeks had a beard like. The locks of his hair thick as a grain field. He was perfection in height, ideally handsome. This is an example of a 2/3 Anunnaki and 1/3 human, a divine, semi-divine demigod of the Anunnaki. Are the Anunnaki and Igigi the men of renown? The Igigi are in the epic of creation as the gods of heaven, and there are 300 of them. And there are 600 Anunnaki of the underworld. In the Book of Giants, it is a Jewish book which expands the primeval creation to end-of-time narrative of the Hebrew Bible, and by its multifaceted elaborations on divine decrees of warning and doom, ties the ancient prophet Enoch closer to his generally recognized storyline. There even are more corrupt offspring. The giants were variously called thereafter the Nephilim, Gibborim, and Raphaim, also the Anakim, being the earthly half-breed races that fought against God and his righteous followers, whose numbers diminished as the world was overwhelmed with corruption and evil. Though the terms for the watchers and their offspring is often confused in their various translation sources, there is also in this biblical narratives which I will reference now. Today I leave you with Daniel 7:9 through 14, an example of the Igigi and Anunnaki. As I watched, thrones were set up, and the Ancient One took his throne. His clothing was snow white, and the hair on his head as white as wool. His throne was flames of fire with wheels of burning fire. A surging stream of fire flowed out from where he sat. Thousands upon thousands were ministering to him, and myriads attended him. The court was convened, and the books were opened. I watched then from the first of the arrogant words which the horn spoke, until the beast was slain, and its body thrown into the fire to be burnt up. The other beasts which also lost their dominion were granted a prolongation of life for a time and a season. As the visions during the night continued, I saw one like a son of man coming on the clouds of heaven. When he reached the Ancient One and was presented before him, he received dominion, glory, and kingship. Nations and peoples of every language serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that shall not be taken away. His kingship shall not be destroyed. Thank you so much, and always remember that all roads lead to the ancient gods from Mesopotamia. Thank you so much. Peace and love to you. And always remember that you are and I am a spirit of God.